Welcome to Knock Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live from Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of Ask William, where I try to answer your questions the best I can. So this is a filler show, as you all know, that when we have a cancellation, I try to do my best to give you something to go on. So this is definitely a filler, and usually this time slot is dedicated to Rabbi Stuart Federow with TNT, the Twisted New Testament. But he is unavailable. There was someone in his congregation, one of their family members, had a death in their family, and they have asked him to help them with that. So he's not here for that very reason. So prayers go out to whichever family that is, and that their loss would truly be a blessing as a memory to all of them. So anyway, so this is it. We're live here. And so I'm going to open up the phone lines right now. Give me just a minute to sign into it. I can't sign in before I actually play the intro because sometimes the phone rings while I'm actually doing the intro. So that is why that happens. So hopefully you guys have had a great day so far and a very educated one as well. We've had quite a few shows. It looked like it was going to be mostly a washout today, but at the last minute, these shows started lining back up again. Was able to do a wonderful testimony with Brett. Brett, I'll just say Brett. His last name is Halfpop, I think. Yep. And it's just like it sounds, Halfpop. And I believe that is his legitimate name. So he goes down, trust me, there's only one of us on the planet. Probably so. But the testimony was really cool. Guy had a great story. So I was glad to have him on the air. Okay, so right now the phone lines are open. I guess you need a phone number. If you're tuning in for the first time, it's actually in the video description area and the video title as well. But I will try to put up let's see where to go. I will put up a number for you anyway. How's that? Waiting for it to come up here. There we go. And there you have it, folks. I'm going to move that. I was playing around last time. Sometimes, it's ADD. I don't know what you want to call it. But let's move that over here so it's easier to see. Like that right there. There we go. Okay. 855-952-4253, which you can see better against my black shirt. It kind of gets a little blurry otherwise. So anyway, phone lines are open. Please give me a call if you guys have any questions. We've been hitting a lot of things about Passover and Easter and the comparisons, but I don't want to say that's the limit of tonight's show. So I'm going to, again, since I'm the only one here, I have to do everything, including have you guys watch me do things on my own. Right now there's 4 of you out there. David, hey brother, man, thank you for keeping me informed on the things, and so some good friends out there. Dave and Becca, love you guys, man. Y'all are awesome. And so, the only thing that's in my mind right now is because we've been dealing with it pretty much all day, and that is the whole Passover thing. Now, we did this last week, so I don't want to bore you with details, but I will tell you the last show we just did with Gabriel Sanders, which is our I call him our local Hebrew scholar, because he does most of his on-air teachings happen here on Tanakh Talk, and he is an actual Hebrew teacher in the school. He teaches that as well. And but we had a special guest on the show with Rabbi Moshe Shulman, so it was like a dueling rabbi sort of an idea, and it was nice. They had a full thing on Passover and why and how it's so much of a problem altogether for the Messianic Passover Seder, so to speak. And at the last minute, we pulled out the connection to, I had mentioned to them how a lot of Messianics will actually say that a Torah scroll itself, if you've ever seen one, let me put it this way, if you've never seen one, a Torah scroll actually has scribe marks on it where they will take and score the actual parchment with long straight edges, so they can make sure that the letters are the right sizes and that they stay within the boundaries, and it also looks like it's actually appealing to the eye. It doesn't look sloppy. And so, but they'll use the fact that it's stitched together, the parchment's stitched together, right? And they'll say it was pierced, right? And it was bruised, because if you look at parchment, especially stuff that's a little bit older, you can see, even fresher parchment, you can see different discolorations, and they say that's the bruising that Jesus beheld and all this other stuff. And so, but one thing Shulman brought out that I didn't actually count on or think about was, everything back then was actually stitched that way. So you can't say that was done that way because of Jesus, because if that's the case, every other writing where people were making books and scrolls, every other writing was because of Jesus. And of course, there's a lot of pagan writings back then too that would have nothing to do with Jesus. So you can't say that as a proof. You could call it a nice warm feeling, but it doesn't really have any proof bearing to it at all. 855-952-4253. Somebody call right now at least and let me know that my phone lines are connected properly, because otherwise I might not know. I could be getting calls, don't even know it. And so I'm going to look at the YouTube now and see if there are any questions there in chat. Raymond Reef, it's good to see you, brother. And in fact, Raymond, I believe I just came across a message you sent me a while back, maybe last week. I don't know. I get so many messages that my inbox just stays flooded. So sometimes when I think I scroll back far enough, maybe I didn't. And so if I miss your messages, I'm very sorry about that. So if I do, hey, that's okay. Phones are here. Thank you so much, whoever this is. Caller, welcome. You are live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
It's Fred.
Hello. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I was going to ask you a question.
Okay.
And my question is God of Israel same as, the Muslims and what the Muslims believe?
Okay.
Allah.
Okay, very good. That's a great question. I'll do my best to answer it. And just for your benefit, there's a few shows that we have done in the past with Rabbi Tovia Singer where he has discussed this very topic as well. I'm going to do my best to remember a lot of what he said so I can kind of translate it here and give you the best answers that I have stored up in my brain right now. Okay, so thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. Okay, all right. Go ahead and hang up now. You can tune in for the answer. Okay, thanks. Okay, that's a great question. So, is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the same God of Islam? And so, I've heard compelling stories both ways. Personally, I don't know. I used to think I knew, and my answer used to be definitely not, no way possible. But the more I'm finding out, maybe so, man. Maybe they've got it. Maybe they just identify him through a different name. But part of me still thinks no, but I don't know. See, the thing that really plagues people, in my opinion, is the news. And that goes in every aspect. When I was a child, I'll give you an example. When I was a child growing up, I was afraid of black people, because the only time I ever saw a black person was on the news. And the only time I ever saw a black person on the news is when they did something wrong. And so for a long time, I grew up terrified. If I saw a black person, I just wanted to go hide, right? And so the same thing goes with Islam, okay? The Muslims, in every religion, in every walk of life, you have people who are, I have to chuckle. Rabbi Singer once said, you have whack jobs in every circle of life. And so even Christianity, even in Judaism, you have wackos, and that's just a truth of nature. But the problem is, the news is our resource for putting people in boxes. And unfortunately, everything I've seen on the news here in America as an adult, even when anytime it had anything to do with a Muslim regarding Islam, it was always negative. So it makes you think, wow, these guys are wackos too. You can't trust a Muslim, right? But over the years, I have actually met more than a handful of Muslims. I've got a really good friend of mine who actually deals with Muslims, has a lot of Muslim friends, and they are truly just as devout and just as kind and gentle and warm and loving and accepting as the best Jew you know. So just because we see things on the news doesn't mean that that's how everybody is, right? I did see a post, for example. Here's a good example. About a week or two ago, somebody sent me, and I don't remember who it was. I'm not playing dumb to spare their name. If I knew their name, I wouldn't tell you anyway, but I really just don't remember who it was. But the post was, is it true? And I'm paraphrasing, but the post basically said, is it true that the Jewish people in New York stole a bunch of these, or not stole, but they bought out, like hoarded all of these COVID-19 mask, the respirators with a certain specifications, and yeah, basically painting a picture in this person. I keep hearing a popping noise. I think my mic might be too hot. Let me turn this down just a little bit here. Check 1, 2, testing 1, 2. It's a little bit better. And so when he said that, I immediately got the thing like, wow, it says the Jewish people, wow, they actually conspired together and did this thing. But what happened was, when I finally saw the actual news leak on it, it wasn't the Jewish people, it was a Jewish person, right? But the way it came across was like it was the Jewish people were guilty of all this thing. Had nothing to do with the Jewish people at all. Had to do with this one Jewish guy who thought he was smart. Either he was smart or he was going to try to buy 5,000 of them and then try to sell them for $1,000 a piece. I don't know. I have no idea. I just know that they confiscated these masks from this Jewish man's home. And so David, you can come in, but I'm recording, okay? So they confiscated all these masks from this Jewish guy's home. But next thing you know, it's like it's painting a picture like now the Jewish people are evil. That is so untrue. It's unbelievably crazy to think that. We have to use the same measuring tool when it comes to other religions, right? I could seriously say using this similar tactics that the news uses on Muslims, I could do the same thing against Christians back in the old school days, right? You have these Christian people who believed in like killing people and stuff, doing all this weird stuff. And if that was going on now, they would all be categorized together. Christians, Muslims, you can't trust them, right? So I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. I just know that I know some Muslims, and they're very kind. They don't seem to be guilty of idolatry in a sense like Christians believe in a Trinity. They believe Jesus and God, even though they try to package him as one God. Some of them do. But I do know that it's halakhically okay for a Jew to pray in a mosque, but it's not okay for a Jew to pray in a church. Reason being is because of the idolatry factor. And so some people would say that's not true because they believe, that so-and-so was like Jesus, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can't always trust everything you hear just because you heard it on the internet. Research it further. My guess is if that question was really occupying my afterthoughts all the time, I would certainly spend more time researching it and try to find out. But don't research it from the bad guys or the people who don't like them. Go to them and ask them, Tell me about yourself. That's what I recommend, right? And so, so that's pretty much it. That's the short side of my answer. Again, if you're curious about this, there are videos. If you go to, I don't know how to search for it. I could look it up now, but it's going to take up some airtime, and I don't want to bore you guys with me typing in things. However, if you're on Facebook and you have a question, you don't want to call in, all you have to do is type in the @ symbol and then Tanakh Talk, and then state your comment, question, whatever, and it'll put up my name or Tanakh Talk in a bold yellow banner or orange banner, and I can just scroll through them really fast and just find out exactly where the questions are. Otherwise, I have to stop and read every post, and I watch videos where people do that, and that is really boring, and I don't want to bore you. I'm doing a good enough job already. So anyway, yes. Did you need some? You do? What do you need?
It'll take a little bit, so.
Huh?
It'll take a little bit.
Oh, then you have to wait till we're done because I don't have a little bit right now. So I'll be about another 45 minutes or so. Enjoy the break. There's some water in the refrigerator. Cold ones in the fridge. Look like you could use one. So my son, check this out. I'm going to see if I can pull this up for you. This will be fun. So my son, he's 14, and he already knows how to drive my truck. He already knows how to do all kinds of fun stuff. But I actually had him build a shelf for my wife that goes in the pantry area, and I knew he knew how to use the tools because I've seen him, but I didn't know if he could actually pull off the measurements and do the assembly factor of it. And boy, was I pleasantly surprised. I was so proud of this kid. So I'm going to go to gallery and I'm going to pull up this picture. I don't know if you can see this picture, but I'm going to try to show it to you anyway. Let me turn it sideways, and I got to look up in my bifocal here. Now I'm going to have to hold it really steady up next to the camera to get it focused in, but oh yeah, you can see it. That's him. Oh, trying to get it square and flat to the camera. Right about there. And so he did it exactly. I mean, he had a speed square. He marked off all the lines, everything perfectly measured. Used a miter saw to cut all the cross members, and same thing with the arm, the long parts of it. And it's exactly like I asked him to. I was so delightfully impressed with this kid. I'm very happy. Anyway, so good job, son. I'd be even happier if you'd bring me a cold water too. Actually, it wouldn't make me happier, but it might pacify my thirst. So, okay, phone lines again open, guys. I don't have a lot to talk about, so if you don't want this to be a short show, give me a question on Facebook or put a question here. That was a great question about the Muslim thing altogether, because it is a pressing thing to a lot of people. So, anyway, very good. Okay, there we go. Maximo, Tanakh Talk. Who or what is the arm of the Lord from Isaiah? Okay, so here's the thing. Pretty much every question you could ask me, you could find it on my channel by typing in the question, Tanakh Talk, and then the question. It'll track something down. Pardon me. And thank you, Lord. All right, so I know that in Christianity they do use a lot of these terms to try to further prove that Hashem, aka God, but okay, so Hashem, our creator of the universe, took on bodily character, right? So it took on bodily form. So you have the idea of, here was his arm, there's a hand of the Lord, and Moses saw his God put Moses in the cleft of the rocks, and Moses saw his back, right? So you have this visualization of a body all the time. But most of what I'm seeing is metaphorical. I'll give you, to further that example is a lot of people like to argue that Moses did see God's face and he lived, but it doesn't say that Moses actually saw his face, right? Here we go. I'm going to take this caller. This is a longtime viewer of Tanakh Talk, John Anon, and I'm not sure if he's still Christian or whatever, but we're going to find out. Probably has a great question anyway. John, welcome back to the show. It's been a long time. How are you?
Good.
Very good, sir. What is your question for tonight, sir?
I noticed that Bill Gates is wanting to promote a vaccine for everybody and a mark in their hand. What do you feel about this mark that's going in people's hands? Because Christians believe it's the mark of the beast.
Okay, yeah, fair enough question. I don't do politics or news basically in that, but this isn't really politics. This is a different thing. So I'll keep you on the phone for this because my answer is probably unsatisfyingly short. So
okay,
I know that in Christianity they have the whole thing with the mark of the beast, and then they have even Carmen had this whole Christian video with the 666, the number of the beast, and all this other stuff, right? And so from what I found out, the number, first of all, the number of the beast isn't actually 666, and so for all of you people out there who got the 666 tattoo because you were trying to express your darker side, you got to go back and do some research on that. It's not really 666, but the hand thing, the mark of the beast on the hand, whatever the case may be, or I think that a lot of what the New Testament has done is that they have taken so many things from Judaism and they've put a different spin on it, or they've used the same story and just wrapped it in a different package. Because let me give you a better example. So in Judaism, halakha, the way they follow their teachings of the Torah and the oral Torah is that if any person and their life is threatened, whatever the case may be, they're obligated to spare their life, right? I always thought that if a Jewish person was threatened with death, or either convert to Christianity or die, that if they converted to Christianity, they would go to hell. That is just simply not true, right? And so, in the event that the things happen the way Christians do say, and someone doesn't, if it was a Jew or whatever the case may be, even if that was prophesied in the Old Testament that this might happen, even if I decided no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I might starve to death, or I'd have to go live off the grid to, grow my own food, whatever the case may be. But spiritually speaking, there would be no recoil for that in a bad way, because it is a commandment to preserve life, and that's also why it's a violation of murder for a person for committing suicide. You can't do that. Now there are exceptions to that rule, but we just did a show on this recently. But all that's tied together. So even if that was the case, there wouldn't be the recompense like the New Testament is actually telling you. That's basically the short answer. So hopefully that wasn't too short and brief for you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, John. Thank you for the call. Bye. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, awesome. You got another question?
Yeah.
You got a question for me?
No.
For the show?
No.
For the show?
No.
You do? You don't? You do? You don't? What is it? We got
That camera you took, can I take it back or no?
which camera?
From my locker that I was using
I'm actually using it. It's actually attached to this pole right here. My son is becoming quite the videographer too, and he's wanting this C920. However, what do you got to do? You got to do a show or something? You got a rabbi you're going to do a show with? What's up? What?
No, I just want to Skype chat with you.
Come over here real fast. Come here. Come here. Don't be bashful. You can be sitting in this chair one of these days. Over here on this side. This side. Squat down. Now say hi. Hola. That's my boy right there. He's learning how to actually do the keys and to do the production here. So one of these days you might see me where I'm sitting in the chair off in the corner somewhere, and he's actually at the desk doing all this fancy stuff. So, but anyway, yeah. So if you can take it now, if you just bring it back whenever you're done with the call, okay? And then there you go. All right, love you, kid. It's not actually attached, but don't let it snag on anything, okay? Love you. All right, cool. All right, very good. You're welcome. Love you. Okay, so. All right, very good. Looking at how long did it take you to tell your dad? Okay, this is from Dave and Becca Lynn on Facebook. Let me make sure there's no question before that, and there isn't, so that's good. Okay, so from David and Becca Lynn, my friends, how long did it take for you to tell your dad that you no longer believe in the J-Man and Yashke? Now, comment real quick. I used to be curious. I thought whenever the Jewish people referred to Jesus as Yashke, I thought that was just like their... Being honest with you, I thought it was a retarded nickname they were doing to Caller, sit tight. I've got you on the air, but don't hang up. I'll be right with you in just a minute, okay? Caller, okay. Said that just for a second. So I thought they were being kind of disrespectful, kind of like giving him a negative nickname, but actually, in reality, it's not true because there's part in the Torah where it says, be ye circumspect and do not even mention the names of other gods. So it's kind of their way of actually following that commandment. So going back to this thing, so when he says J-Man, that's really a good thing because you really, even if you use the term Jesus, and if you're not a follower of the New Testament anymore, you shouldn't say you Jesus Christ, because then you're actually kind of saying he is Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, and he wasn't. So you kind of got to watch that as well. So J-Man's good, Yashke, whatever. And sometimes when I type his name out, I'll just put JSUS and not spell it out completely for the same reason. So, okay, going back to the question. So most of you know, a lot of you might not, but I was raised up Christian, but then my dad about 28 years ago, almost 30 years ago, switched from Christianity, mainstream Christianity, which involved non-denominational Christianity as well, and he switched over to learning Hebrew and actually becoming a Messianic teacher. And so he called himself a rabbi, but I'm just saying he was a teacher, he was a Messianic teacher. But for 28 plus years, he was identified by his peers and all of his congregation members and followers as a rabbi. But he wasn't actually, he never actually had a smicha, the right smicha. So, but anyway, point being, my dad, to answer your question, I'm trying to get this, I'll try to package this short because I don't want to take a lot of time on this. I want to make sure I get to this caller really fast. So, it took me probably, thinking back, only about 3 months from the time that I decided to leave the New Testament behind, because we already had our differences due to some technical issues that was going on in the synagogue that I was not approving of. And so we already had a little bit of distance set there anyway. If we were closer the entire time, he would have found out right away. And then and I know it would have caused the same problems. But in the end of the day, it basically ended our relationship. I tried to, renew that spark handfuls of times, but he was just not open to it. And it was never a good thing. And then, fortunately, just before he passed in January, this past January, I sent him a text in November, which is like right around our Thanksgiving holiday season in America. I sent him a text and said, "Hey, Dad, I love you. I've been thinking about you a lot and just want you to know I still care about you." And he responded back and he said, "Same." That's all he said, one word, "same." But that was all I needed, that right there, because we had fought for so long. And that was the first peaceful conversation he ever sent me back. Every conversation we had before started off good, but then he would get nasty and say stuff. That was the only conversation we ever had where he just simply said, basically, "I feel the same. I love you, son." I read into that a lot, and that was needed. And then he wound up passing in January. So anyway, so I've got another caller. But I don't know if I hit this button, if I'm going to hang up on the first one there, but I don't see the other caller. So I'm going to answer this call now, okay? So caller, if I missed you, call back, because I didn't mean to make you wait so long. So, caller, welcome to the show. You're live on the air. Please tell me your name and what's your question?
Well, hi, William. This is Ethel.
Hi, Ethel.
Right, and it's my first time calling you.
Oh, welcome. Welcome.
I'm watching your video right now.
Awesome. Welcome to the
And
show.
well, thank you. Listen, I'm really I'm proud of you. You know, it's tough. I know. I myself, okay, I am Jewish. I was born to a Jewish mother who did not realize that she was Jewish. Okay, she actually was brought up Christian, right? And I went through the gamut of the entire thing. Okay, I mean, I came up Christian and totally turned my back on it when I realized, okay, just how much bogusness, okay, is involved in Christianity way from the beginning. If I sound a little nervous, it's because I am.
That's okay. Don't be nervous.
I wasn't expecting to actually get through.
I'm just as nervous as you are.
But,
so.
you know, I'm. Yeah, I know. It doesn't usually happen to me because I'm actually I'm somebody that is kind of known. All right, I'm actually a public personality, but I'm having trouble today talking to
That's
you.
okay.
Ask me why, I have no clue.
That's okay.
You know, I let me tell you the truth here, okay? I'm known as the supervising director for the World Film Institute over media, okay, for the Family Film Awards.
Wow.
Okay, that's who I am. Okay?
Nice.
And I
Very
work
cool.
with Olympia Giullini, except right now, not working.
Oh, yeah.
Because of all this stuff and a lot of health issues. I took time off.
Well, you should be well.
But
Refuah Shlema.
Oh, have to.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we've got to think about everything going on. And I also had some major health issues, so I had to take care of those as well.
Indeed.
And it's an awful lot of work producing videos and things of that nature. I'm sure you're quite aware of that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Right.
Okay. It's a lot of work. And that's what I spent a lot of my time doing. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I'm older. Okay? I'm 64 years old. Right?
Okay.
So I'm a young lady, I guess.
Yes, you are.
You know, but I've got to tell you, okay, it's tough. Okay, when you finally made the decision that you're going to chuck Christianity into the garbage pail, which is basically where it does belong,
Right.
you run into all kinds of trouble when you came from a Christian background.
Absolutely.
Right? I've noticed that you've had some people, okay, that come on, all right, and they're having these same issues. Right? In my case, I have a son, okay, that when he found out that I'm actually Jewish, he flipped out. Okay, and gave me a real hard time. All the way back down to visit the family for 4 hours.
Wow, bless
in
your
the
heart.
car, and you can't escape the car. You know, but when you, it's hard when you're in your family when that kind of thing happens. You know, and even though he probably knows. You guys, you would talk, it was one of your recent callers, maybe today. Okay, someone you were speaking with, I don't remember his name, that was talking about the Mormon faith. Okay, LDS.
Right.
I did catch that video.
Okay.
And I need to tell you, my family, okay, my family goes way back to there. Great, how many, I don't know, times removed, grandma, okay,
Right.
was the mother, okay, of Joseph Smith's wife. Okay.
Whoa!
Right?
Wait! Repeat that again. Who was the mother of Joseph Smith's wife?
My great grandmother.
Really? Oh, what?
Let me try to remember her name.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to remember her name. I was just trying to draw a connection.
Gates.
Yeah.
Oh, the last name was Gates. Okay.
How about that?
And my mom is Gates.
No kidding. I'll be.
Okay.
How about that?
My mom was Gates. And our family first came over. I'm one of the, real Americans, I guess you would say, because my family first came over on the Mayflower and the Diligent.
How about that?
You know, so we've got a lot of history, okay, and but I'll tell you what, it's very tricky because people don't realize that there were actually Jews that came to America, all right, in the beginning,
Right.
all right, and they were escaping persecution.
Right, absolutely.
A lot of people don't realize the history behind that.
Yep.
You know, and so we ended up hiding exactly who we were. You know, all over all these years.
Wow.
Okay, time goes by, and sometimes the families they lose their connection.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so I was one of the first. Okay, in many generations. Okay, who decided that I was going to return to Judaism.
Wow, that's
Okay,
amazing.
I was going to make that decision. So I've been back to my faith. Okay, for 4 years.
Wow, Baruch
at least
Hashem.
4 years. Yep.
Very
and,
nice.
I never made a better decision in my life.
Good for you.
You know, because it's so much blessing. You know, being close. With other Jewish people, and knowing that Hashem is truly in your life.
Right.
Okay, and that He really cares for you. He loves you. And He cares for everyone. But it's not everyone that really understands the relationship
Right.
that someone who is Jewish has with Hashem. And the Christians have a kind of false relationship,
Right.
okay, which is kind of sad, all right, because they don't really understand and they don't experience the deep relationship, the real connection.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that always makes me very sad. I have persons that I know right now that, I pray for constantly because I know, they're easily falling aside, some people, okay, because they fall into this trap where other people are trying to convert them to Christianity, right, and it's very sad, okay. I was part of the original Jesus movement back in 1971. If you ever catch my book, okay, I did write a book.
What is your book called? Tell me the title of your book.
Quite a while ago. Yep. The book is called Held in Evidence is the name of the series. It's a book series.
Okay.
Okay. And the first book, okay, which came out a couple of years ago.
Hey, do me a favor. Let me
Held
interrupt
in
you.
Evidence.
Let me interrupt you just for a second, okay? It sounds like maybe you and I need to have you on a different show. It sounds like you know what?
I'm
Look,
running my mouth and
No, that's okay. That's
probably
okay.
the wrong thing to do because we're off topic.
That's okay though. But listen,
Yeah.
do me a favor. I'm serious about this because it sounds like I wouldn't mind. I would like to have your testimony if you want to give that on the show, and I can put you on the testimonial program, and actually we can do a full show, and then you can also be more prepared, and you can actually tell us about your books because a lot of people they want to have resources, and and that's why Tanakh Talk, it's a resource. And so the more resources that can be out there for people, the better. And so if you would be interested in that.
I love Tanakh Talk.
If you
would, I first started watching you because of Rabbi Singer.
Gotcha.
Okay? You were doing his shows, and you continue to do that, and I'm so happy that
Wonderful.
You carry those because people need that information.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I share those shows.
That's awesome.
Right, because he knows his stuff.
Yes, he
right?
does.
And
Yes, he
it's very
does.
important.
Do you have my email address? I'm going to put it up on screen right now. So I would like for you to send me an email with your contact information, or just even with just your email address, and let's coordinate a time to get you on. In fact, now is time to actually. We just ran out of. I've got 4 testimonials left that I had out of 25, and usually I go through 25 at a time, and so. Start getting more names on that list. If you would like to be on that list, let's talk about it. Let me put you on there. We can actually do an interview with you. Would you be interested in doing that?
Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
I love
fantastic.
to talk when I'm not nervous. I'm even better at it.
I feel you totally. So let's do this. Let me put that up on screen right now. That way you and everybody else will have it as well. And that is going to be right. Actually, that did not do it. Actually, it'll help though. I'm going to put this up right now. And I'll just tell you what it is. So, okay. So TanakTalk.com is the website. And yes, I know for all you Jewish people who actually know how to read Hebrew and speak Hebrew that's not spelt right, it was the only website available at the time. I had to choose that spelling because Tanakh was already taken. Tanak was taken. So I was like, what do I do here? And so a friend of mine suggested Tenak. I'm like, hey, that works. Let's do it. So that's how we ended up with that. So TenakTalk at gmail.com. This what you see there is actually TanakTalk.com, but just the Gmail is TanakTalk at gmail.com. Send me your information there and just brief me again on our topic. And are we friends on Facebook, you and I?
Yes, we are.
Great.
You
Actually,
accepted my friend's request.
oh, perfect.
I will send you a few things.
Okay,
I'll
great.
show you proof of who I am and
Okay.
everything. So you'll get a complete package.
That's wonderful.
You'll get some articles I've written. You'll love it.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so very much for calling in. I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing your information on Facebook and through email, however that works out, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
All
dear.
right.
Have a great day.
Thank you for doing these
Yes,
shows.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All
You're very
right?
welcome.
They're very important.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. God bless.
You too. Thank you. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I was going to tell you guys, when you call, if I'm on a call, don't just hang up. Leave me an actual message in the form. Put your name and a question. And if you're doing that during this show, I will go back and play your actual voicemail. But we don't need to. So let's take this next caller. Caller, you are live on the air. Please tell me your name and what's your question.
Hey, my name is Holly, and I'm from Mississippi.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. How can I help you tonight?
Well, I have a lot of questions, but I'll just ask one. I'm coming out of Christianity, and I'm just curious, what prompted the idea that individuals could no longer go straight to God, that they had to have a mediator? I'm just curious as to what started that.
Well, stay on the phone with me because this answer is probably going to be pretty short, mainly because I don't know a lot about it. I do know a little bit about it, but then we can go on to your next question. Okay, so the whole concept of the New Testament is the only way that they could push the New Testament is first they have to create a need. I don't know why the whole Jesus thing happened, but there's been some really amazing claims that would suggest that the Apostle Paul, actually started the Christian religion. There's even been claims that says actually Mary is the one who started the Christian religion. There's a lot of different spins that make it all so believable, right? But for that to take place, they had to create a need. You can't sell something unless you can prove somebody that they need it, right? And so that's when they began to present either misrepresent or to accidentally not know. Maybe they were confused. So maybe they were tricked, and they started this based on misinformation. Whatever the case may be. But first, you have to have a need for a sin sacrifice. They said that blood is the only way you can atone for sins, and of course, we know that's not true, right? And on top of that, we also know that based on Tanakh, that blood offerings, if you want to use that terminology, actually would only work on things you did accidentally, not things that you did on purpose. Unfortunately, what plagues humanity most of the time, at least in the secular and Christian world and others, is not accidental sins. It's stuff we do on purpose. We get, stuff we just get furious, get angry, you lie, you cheat, you steal, you whatever the case may be. You look at things you shouldn't, and get engulfed in relationships you shouldn't be doing, behaviors and all this other stuff. And these are sins of rebellion. There is no blood sacrifice anywhere in Tanakh that covers the sins of rebellion. And so, but they made it work because they told you that it did, that you needed blood and sacrifice, that was the only way to be forgiven for your sins. So, using that whole idea, that's kind of the full package. They created a need. They made everybody believe it. And they believed it. So now everybody's starting to reach out to this mythical savior that's going to save you from all this stuff. Why that is, honestly, I have no idea, because Paul's deal was, he was the first author of the New Testament. Right, his writings surfaced before the Gospels, many years before the Gospels, and so I've heard one of the teachers say he fell off his horse. My wife said, well, he got knocked in the head and got knocked silly and had this silly idea, this silly vision, which could have been the case. And the next thing you know, it's like this whole thing has started with this thing, right? and later on the Gospels come up. Whether they were written before, but they were found later, who knows? But we just know that the Gospel writers were not the Gospel writers themselves. They gave the names to the letters so they could be easily identified, et cetera, et cetera. So my direct answer to that is I have no idea why anybody would do this. I have no clue. I really don't. All these years of study, I don't know why that would happen. I just know the ins and outs as far as to how it's wrong, right? And that's the best I got. So maybe that would be a great question, actually, to spin maybe Rabbi Singer or something, and maybe we'll title it that, and I'll call you out on it.
Sure.
Why was Christianity created? Okay. Not how, but why. That's what we want to know. Why in the world would anybody detract to take something? A friend of mine used on Facebook, he sent me a message, and he said, you know what? He said, comparing Judaism to Christianity would be like saying Judaism is this great big fancy yacht, like this thing you would see like in, one of these movies that have this, 14 floors with swimming pools. It's like this massive, is that what you call them, a yacht, right? Where they have these tours and stuff that you go on. Anyway, yes. That would be like Judaism. And then Christianity comes along and they have this paper boat. And like, it looks like a boat, but it's made out of paper. It can't even hold water. It doesn't, if anybody who knows what to look for, there's absolutely, the only comparison is to say that it looks like a boat. That's it. Everything else falls apart. And that's how Christianity works. I didn't think so in the beginning, but it actually became that way as time would unfold itself. So,
I thought maybe I'd missed something. Like, was there a verse that I didn't catch? When was the moment where God said, that's enough? You've got to come through my son, which, according to Christianity, you got to come through me to get to me.
Right. And see, that's where the problem, see, here's the thing. In all of my Tanakh years, meaning the Hebrew scriptures, aka Old Testament years, only where I left Christian church. And so this has been about, I want to say close to 8 years now. Tanakh Talk's been here for about 6 years, going on 6 years now. So around 7 or 8 years, I've never met a single Jewish person, never even talked to, never even heard of a single Jewish person who was an educated in the home, raised in a religious home, who studied Torah, who studied Tanakh. I've never met one of them who's ever converted to Christianity, not even once. But I have met a lot of Christians who are leaving Christianity to go to Judaism, and not just people, but teachers, people who are pastors, preachers, evangelists, leaving in droves to get away from Christianity because they're finding out the truth. Right?
Definitely.
And so this whole thing is all based on several main core verses throughout Tanakh, like Isaiah 7:14, the whole supposed virgin birth prophecy, which doesn't say virgin. Isaiah 53, he was wounded for, bruised and wounded for our transgressions, healed, by his stripes we're healed, so all this other stuff. And they look into all these things, and they try to interpolate their own message into it. But they don't want to accept what the actual original Hebrew says. They would rather. When I was in the Christian church, I was getting ready to kind of get more messianic, start studying Hebrew. I went to this huge meeting in this church. They were doing homeschool, they were teaching people how to do home cell groups. So they picked out certain families that thought were really studious and really wanted to be leaders. And so we had this massive church meeting. And I had an opportunity to say something during this one point. This one guy who seemed to be very... he seemed to be like he was really ready to teach, he was very zealous and all this other stuff. And he was mentioning something that I even knew was wrong myself, even as a Christian. And I mentioned, I said, well, the Hebrew doesn't actually say that, whatever it was. He goes, what is that? And I said, that's the original language. He goes, I don't care about that. I got the King James. That's all I need. I was like, are you kidding me? But the thing is, that's a very true reality. They believe that the King James is such an accurate translation. Why do they need the Hebrew? Right? And so that's a problem that the world has right now. And so it's Baruch Hashem that he's opened my eyes and so many others, and he's working with you, and it's all a process. But as to the why, there's so many verses that they have taken out of context and used to try to push their agenda. And so they created the need. They said you have to have blood sacrifice, and then they have to create a solution, and the only way they can do that is to point back to the Tanakh, the Old Testament, and try to grab scripture pieces and tell you about them. But I will tell you something very interesting. And I'm only going to take this extra minute to share this with you just because I find it very... Whoa. I don't know what that was. Hang on just a second. I hit something. Let me turn something down here. Oh, room speaker off. Okay, let's try that again. Wow. Okay, I was moving my board and I actually spun a knob wide open and it actually cracked up. So sorry about that. So I'm going to take a minute, just because I feel like this might benefit you, and I'm gonna take you to just one place, right? In Tanakh. Okay. All right, check 1, 2. That's better. Okay. This one particular place I'm going to take you is going to be in Isaiah. Do you have a Bible handy?
I do.
Okay, cool. There's 2 places I want you to go to. So Isaiah 53, and then also Zephaniah chapter 3. So if you can kind of like bookmark Zephaniah once you find it, it's going to be later on towards the end of Tanakh. So basically Isaiah 53. Specifically verse 9 for what I'm fixing to tell you, but there's actually lots of problems with Isaiah 53:9. Well, Isaiah 53 in general. In fact, I should probably pull that up so I don't misquote anything, because I would hate to be guilty of that in this particular setting especially. So I'm going to go to, and just to be fair, I'm actually going to use, where's it at? I forgot what it's called. Oh, Bible Gateway. Mainly because King James is what pretty much every Christian, or they'll use something, a version of King James. They won't use a Jewish translation. So I'm going to go straight to a Christian translation, okay? And so I'm going to look up Isaiah 53, verse 9 is going to be the first one. And then once you get that, tell me, and I'll tell you what the second one is, so you can go ahead and find that while I look this up, okay?
Okay, I'm on 53:9.
Okay, good. Okay, now go to Zephaniah. Okay, and Zephaniah is going to, you may already know what's at. It's actually, I said it was after, but it's actually, where is Zephaniah? Yeah, it is after. It's actually the 4th book from the end of the Hebrew Scriptures from the Old Testament. So going backwards would be Malachi, Zechariah, Haggai, and Zephaniah. So Zephaniah chapter.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Okay, good. So
Yeah, okay.
Zephaniah 3, okay? So going to Isaiah 53, for starters. Okay, I'm going to read it to you here in the King James. 53 verse 9, okay? But before I read it, I would like for you to either tell me or let me tell you my recollection of what the New Testament told us how Jesus died and where he was buried. So most people know this is common knowledge. So Jesus was hung in between 2 other people. They called them thieves or whatever the case might have been. They were 2 wicked people, right? So Jesus's death location where he died was with wicked people, right? And then when he was buried, do you remember where the New Testament says he was buried? Joseph of Arimathea was a very wealthy man, and he was buried in Joseph's tomb. So his grave was in a rich place. His grave was in the tomb of a rich man. Okay? So he died with the wicked, and he was buried with the rich. Now look at 53 verse 9, the first part of it.
Okay.
And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. It's completely opposite of what this is saying, of what happened to Jesus.
Yeah.
It's totally opposite, right? And furthermore, now when I went to go through Zephaniah, the second part will apply to Zephaniah, because it says, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit found in his mouth, right? So look at Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 13 for me.
Okay.
And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull it up here and make sure I got the verse right. Most of the stuff will go off memory. Yep, that's it right there.
Okay.
The very first half of it. It says, the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. This Isaiah is not talking about a person. It's talking about the remnant of Israel. All these signs.
Yeah.
Okay, and furthermore, going back to Isaiah, the Hebrew word for death, like with his rich in his death, is actually plural. It's not singular. And so we're talking about many deaths, not just one. So that's just one example. I mean, these examples are all throughout the entire Tanakh, how the Christians, I don't want to say the Christians, whoever wrote the New Testament, had abused and really violated the Hebrew Scriptures to push an agenda, and they did it so maliciously because they knew that people didn't have access to that type of thing. They didn't have direct access to it or even understand so many things, right? So the whys and the hows, they're starting to come unfolded now. I'm still puzzled at the why, but we're finding out the hows. My question to add to your question is, the people who claim to really be in the authorship of the New Testament, supposedly they were supposed to know Hebrew, so how could they be misled by it themselves? So there's a lot of questions there.
Right.
All we know is that it's wrong. It would be nice to find out more as the why. Why did they do this to begin with? That's actually a question I'm not even sure we've ever discussed before. We've discussed the how many times, but not necessarily the why. So,
Okay.
cool. Okay, well, there hasn't been any more callers
Yeah.
calling in. Do you have another question you want to throw out there? You said you had a lot of questions. We've got time.
It would honestly probably take a minute. It's just I have questions about the time of Jacob's trouble and how some Christians are comparing that to Revelation, and they're even saying this whole COVID-19 crisis is the time of Jacob's trouble, and how everything is just blamed on the Jews, and it makes me very angry. I want to just speak up, but that will lose my southern temper on them. So
you know what? I would like for you to call in on one of Rabbi Tovia's Singer shows and ask that very question, because that's something he would be really, really good at explaining. That's definitely. Probably a lot more than I could probably get into. At least now, I would have to actually research it, and I could do that. But he does stuff on the fly so well because he's just been around it for so long, and he's so good at this. And so the other rabbis. I mean, even Rabbi Federow tonight's show I'm doing this in place of Rabbi Federow's show because he wasn't available. Even he is a great one. You could ask any of the rabbis, and they could really just take this deep for you. All we do know is that the Christians use so many things. They've stolen things. They literally have stolen stories from Tanakh and reproduced them in the New Testament to make them more believable, and it's at the time I was a Christian, it made sense. Hey, listen, let me go and hang up now. I'm going to take this next caller, but definitely call in on the show and send me an email to knocktalkquestions@gmail.com, okay?
Okay, thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye-bye. You bet, bye-bye. Caller, you're live on the air. Please tell me your name. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm Paul Stamba from Cleveland, Ohio.
Paul, welcome. How are you?
Oh, good. I had a question about the 2 Kings, chapter 10, where Jehu fulfills the word of the Lord and kills, cuts off all the seed of Elijah's sons. But then he goes on to do more idol worship, but God still blesses him. So I kind of wanted to know the difference between what you knew about Baal worship and then the son of Nebat.
Tell me it was.
And that's it.
Tell me what chapter and verse you mentioned again. I apologize.
It's 2 Kings chapter 10.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm going to look into it right
now. And I'll go ahead and hang up and
okay.
listen.
I may not be able to answer your question, but I'm going to look at it real fast because I might be able to. We'll see. Okay, but go ahead and hang up now. And if I can't, then I'll go ahead and push this off for Rabbi Singer or one of the other rabbis, or maybe I can see some maybe even you can check in the chat too, because sometimes a couple of my rabbis will actually be in the chat room and they might be able to answer questions there too as well. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye. Okay, so 2 Kings chapter 10, right? Okay, I'm just going to take a quick glance at this, guys. 855-952-4253, guys. So if you want to call in, that would be the one. So, yeah, I'm not sure. So, okay, there we go. Israel, verse 11. Okay, good. I'm going to take this call. Send me a message with caller. Sit tight. I'll be right with you. Okay. So with the last call, do me a favor. Send that question that you just sent me. Send it to knocktalkquestions@gmail.com. I'm gonna because that's a great question actually. I would like for you to send it in. And I'm going to forward that to Rabbi Singer. In fact, actually do one better. Call in to the same number you just called into, but I'm going to ignore the call and leave a voicemail. But tell me your name and the actual question in detail, and I might actually be able to play that live on one of the shows. So, because I don't want to ignore that. Now, whoever just called just hung up. So the phone lines are back open again. I don't know why they hung up. That's okay. Okay, so there is, looks like somebody did call with a voicemail. So let's see what this is. Maybe this will be something we can talk about. Actually, they stayed on hold, but they didn't actually talk. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one. Okay, there we go. Now, I heard it again, but I don't see the actual phone. Where's that? There it is right there. Ah, cool. Okay, caller, you are live on the air. Please tell me your name, where you're calling from. Hello, you're live on the air.
Oh, wow. So here's my question.
Okay.
Most people in the country, in the United States, don't understand their heritage, don't understand what names mean, what actually, what their bloodline is, who they really are.
Okay.
Like, for example, someone whose name is Lewis.
Okay.
They don't understand, like, if you put the vav there, like the wa,
right?
And that when people say, oh, very good, like the mystics, they kept that, and so that's somebody whose name, that's Levi. Lewis is actually Levi. It's just Levi's son with Levi's.
Okay.
So a lot of Americans, lots of people don't know that. They don't understand. I could break down every name, just break it down in Hebrew and show people who they really are. And you obviously know that's a big deal for a human being, period, to know who they are. The whole Bible's full of genealogy, even the Christian Bible, whatever.
Absolutely.
So I think so. Here's what my question is. I've been watching Rabbi Manis Friedman, Rabbi Tovia Singer. I have spent some time watching quite a few different rabbis. And the truth is, the light. So my question is, I think what I'm trying to understand is, when is the light coming? When are people going to start just saying the truth? Here's what it is. Like, I'm sure if you walked into a Nazi camp where they're singing Nazi songs and start trying to tell them, hey, you guys here named Lewis? That might be dangerous for you and everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, this whole world is in darkness. So why aren't the Jewish people that are from various places all over, the 12 tribes of Israel, Israelites and, the tribe of Yehuda, Benjamin, why aren't they telling all the Jewish Christians? I understand. I think I can answer my question, but I would like Rabbi Tovia Singer to answer that.
No.
You know that's where the true light is.
Actually, we have.
You can answer it.
Yeah. I can definitely answer it for you. And also, we have actually covered that on several shows with his already. But I'll give you a good summary of it now. So I'll give you a best explanation I can for now. Okay. Okay, bro. Thank you for your call. That's really an excellent question. Thank you. Okay. So here's the thing. All right. So I'm gonna repackage that question. The Jews are called to be a light to the nation. So why aren't they doing that? So my question would be to someone who, on the other side, would be, what would be your definition of being a light? Okay, so is being a light someone who has a Q-beam, a million candle power flashlight? Is a being light someone who walks around at nighttime and shines it into people's homes? No, that's called, that's really bad. You could get thrown in jail for that, right? Okay, give me 1 second. Color, I'm going to get with you in just a minute. Don't hang up. If you hang up, you'll lose your place, okay? I'll get with you. I'll be right back with you, okay? Okay, they're not listening. They're actually listening to the TV. Okay, so the question is, what does it mean to be a light? Why aren't they proselytizing? Why aren't they, if they know the truth, why aren't they going knocking on doors? Because it's kind of like the same idea of taking a flashlight and shining it into somebody's home. Unwanted light is actually harassment. That's exactly what that is. Jews being a light to the nation, someone who's being a good light, someone who is actually holding the light, and someone will see that and they want to benefit from that light, so they go over to it. It's kind of like an umbrella. I'm not going to chase people around in a parking lot with an umbrella that don't have one, but if somebody comes up to me because they see I have this giant umbrella and they can get out of the rain, I will absolutely let them in. That's the concept of how the light is to be spread. Being a light to the nation does not mean to proselytize. It doesn't mean to go knocking on doors or to be like street evangelists, televangelists, things like that. This is being a light is simply take what you have and use it, live it like you are, and if people ask, that's when you share it with them. You don't go to them. You don't go knocking on the door hoping that they'll talk with you and invite you in for coffee and things like that. That's a very Christian idea. So in short, that is the answer. The Jews are being a light. That's how we're able to see it now. That's why so many of us are coming out, because they see the light that they're putting off, and that's the light that we need. That's the true light. And that's how it is. There's no proselytizing in Judaism in that regard. So that would be your answer. So moving on. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell me where you're calling from. You're live on.
Hi, this is Devon Mays. I'm in Colorado.
Welcome, Devon. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. What's your question?
I actually just caught this on the fly. I didn't even know you guys were streaming.
That's okay.
Am I asking you questions or is Rabbi on?
No, it's just me tonight. Rabbi Federow was not available to come, and so anytime I have a cancellation, I try to do a fill-in. So.
Oh, okay. I was going to actually ask him one of the rabbis about Onias during the temple period, being that he was a high priest. That the Christians tend to ignore all the other messiahs in the Tanakh. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you read Daniel 9, and they say Messiah will be killed and stuff like that, they ignore John the Baptist was cut off.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Messiah. He was anointed. Onias was a priest. Zechariah, his father was not Zechariah. Onias, his father was John the Baptist's father. He was a priest. We're not told when he dies. So I just wanted one of the rabbis' take on how they see Onias in that light.
Okay, cool. And tell me,
and I also have one more question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Real quickly, what was the chapter and verse reference you were mentioning with Onias?
It's Daniel 9.
Okay.
Daniel 9, 24 to 27.
Okay, gotcha. One thing I'll say before you go to your next question real fast. The biggest thing that I thought was just really interesting was how the New Testament authors had taken just in that area of Daniel, and they had decided to capitalize the word Messiah there whenever it's not capitalized anywhere else, and it's also translated correctly pretty much everywhere else. But there, they made it look like it was the savior of the world. I'm like, where did that idea come from? That was quite random. You can't use that if the rest of them say simply anointed. And so, yeah, you're right on target about that. So I do think that would be a great question to ask one of the rabbis for sure. If you want to look, so Rabbi Singer is live Sundays from 9 to 11 a.m. Central, and then Rabbi Federow is usually right now, and he would be also a really great one to ask as well. So, but yeah, thank you so much for calling in. And oh no, what was your other question? You said you had another question. I don't want to.
I don't know if I called the right number, left the right email. I was trying to contact you. I was curious because I see you having interviews on people who put the New Testament down, needs to be pastors.
Right.
I myself am an author, and I write about a lot of these things. I left the church and Christianity years ago, and I was wondering if you guys could set up an interview or do a book review on some stuff. I could send you some of my books. What would be my avenue to?
Let me ask you a question. Are we friends on Facebook? You and I?
I don't think so.
Okay, if you're on Facebook,
I can make that happen.
Yeah, make that happen, and then I'm going to have you reach out to JulieTaylor, who is also another Tanakh Talk host, but she also schedules all my interviews for me. And I'm going to have
JulieTaylor. Okay.
Yeah, Julie and she will be because she's actually the host of one of my Monday shows with Women's World. So I'll have you connect with her, and then she can have you put y'all can talk. She's got all the criteria I'm looking for, and then y'all can talk it out, and she can put you on the list, and we'll see what happens. Okay.
Okay, so just go to Tanakh Talk, or am I looking for you?
Yeah, no, just look for William Hall. My profile picture is actually the logo for Tanakh Talk, which is that blue letter Tav inside a black circle. And just send me a friend request.
Okay.
All righty?
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, cool. Very good. All right, so we're over an hour, but we can still go for a while. So I see a lot of tags on YouTube, and I'll check right now to see what happens. And, okay, what did I do here? Somebody must be hearing an echo or something. Is that what is going on? I can't tell. Sound is choppy. Now that I don't know about. That's funny. Please check. You have a very bad feedback echo. Really? That's bizarre. Okay, I'm going to check it right now. Hang on. All right, let me see. Let me answer this call. They may be telling me about this. Okay, you're live on the air. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to deal with the sound issue real fast. Hang on just a second, okay?
Okay.
Okay, hang on. Okay, so let me, there's only one place I can check. If it's still, actually, if you guys are watching right now, would you please tell me if you're still experiencing a bad feedback issue? Voice seems distorted now still. I don't even know why that would be. Let me check my internal soundboard real fast. Let's see. USB audio mixture right there. Boom, second. Everything looks normal on this side. It might be something. Yes, meaning that it's bad. Oh, yep, feedback. Really? Man, that's a bummer. I don't know. So I'm going to turn this off. I can turn it back on. Turn those guys off. Okay, now, really bad still. That's interesting. Okay, thank you, Alan Edwards, and thank you, Wally, Daniel, David, Squash in Alabama. Okay, all my effects on the the soundboard are actually turned off. Now, earlier, if you guys heard this really bad squelch thing happening, it may have had something to do with that, and I don't know for sure, but I do know that all of my effects are turned off, and I'm trying to make a few more adjustments. Still getting an echo in Cleveland. Wow, that's really crazy. Okay. Oh, one more thing I can check. Let me do one more thing, just for grins. Let's go here, and C920. No, everything is set right. Maybe whenever I bumped earlier and we had this massive feedback thing, I might have turned something else on and I didn't realize it when I was trying to move my keyboard around. So that's probably the issue. Now, the good news is what I've got going on recording to my hard drive is a clean copy. I will upload this copy when I'm done so you can actually have an undistorted copy of what's actually happening. I'm still checking my sound right now to see what's going on. But right now, everything on my end does look normal. Oh, it's our last caller. Interesting. Now, so is it still, you said it started with the last caller. Is it still happening now? Okay, is reverb, is it bad where you can't hear me? That's what I'm kind of curious about. What I can do is actually try to use a different mic. Let me try that, just in case it's something that has to do with the, let's do that. I'm going to use a different mic, and we'll see if this actually fixes it, okay? So give me 1 second. If I can figure out how to get this thing to turn the right way. Let me go like this, so I can get more range. Okay, here we go. I'm turning one mic and turning up another one. How's this? See if this is any better. Because if this is better, then that means something is wrong with my headset. So right now I'm using a completely different microphone. You are a friend. Thank you, Clark. That's very kind of you, brother. Okay. All right. Tell me if this is better. Because if it's the same, then it's actually a software issue, and I'm going to have to reboot. Okay, sounds like you're driving on a bumpy road. Still, that's really, oh my gosh. Yeah, something is actually on the board then. Let me take a quick glance. If I can't fix it. Okay, if I can't fix it, then I'm going to have to probably go ahead and end the show for now. Yeah, I shouldn't be moving stuff around while I'm doing a show. Let's see what I got here. Tell me if any of these changes, whoops, hey, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Tell me if anything's actually working. Turn mixing board off. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, let me do that. It's squashed in Alabama. I'm going to do that right now. Sit tight. I'm going to turn off my board and turn it back on and see what happens. Okay, board is back on now. So tell me if that works. If it works, we'll stay live. It's not, okay, so, all right, I powered down the board and I turned it back on again. So now I'm trying to see if what you hear is better now. So let me know. Still the same. Yeah, okay, guys. Okay, let's call it a night then because we're actually over an hour anyway. We'll probably, I've been getting a lot of requests to do the same show, but don't worry, I'm going to actually upload. Oh yeah, I bet you're right, Louis. It's the digital converter. Yep, you're right. I'm gonna be doing more shows like this, but don't worry, I'm gonna upload a clean version of this where you won't have any sound issues. So except for that one big squelching thing you heard earlier, that was an accident on my side. So, but a lot of requests have been made for me to do just a show with me talking with you guys. So, so that's what we'll do. I'll figure out a time slot and we'll make this thing happen on a regular basis. So, anyway, thank you guys. Really appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in, and appreciate all your patience with everything. I'm going to put on the screen a couple, some books that you guys need to be aware of. Counter-Missionary Books, Rabbi Tovia Singer, Let's Get Biblical 2-volume book set is a major work. Very nice. You can find it at Amazon.com or on OutreachJudaism.org. And also you can find Rabbi Federow's Judaism and Christianity, A Contrast, can be found at his website, whatjewsbelieve.org. I'm getting the .org and .com mixed up. Whatjewsbelieve.org, I think. Okay, and then Revealing Matthew's Secrets is going to be available from Amazon.com. That's from Jason Lacrosse, and also Leaving Jesus by James Wood Jr. All these books are fantastic resources that you guys would love to get your hands on because they're just really, really awesome. And so with that said, guys, you guys have a great night, and we will see you soon. Shalom, shalom.